Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome from BBS Radio. John Campbell here on Miracle Hour, welcoming all our listeners all over the world. And it's pretty late here in England. It's 10 o'clock, and I guess it must be around 2 p.m. over there in the Pacific region. And this evening, I'm really, really excited because I've got a wonderful guest for you to enjoy. And as you know, I've only recently become a serious student of A Course in Miracles following Gary Renard's book of The Disappearance of the Universe. And once I become serious about anything, I really become serious. And I started to get a magazine sent through to me by the Miracle Network, which is kind of the Course community over here in England. And I was experiencing some challenges, and I needed some support, and I really felt that it would be helpful to have support from somebody, who's a Course teacher and Course follower. So I ran my sort of eyes across the magazine that was sent out by the Miracle Network here in England, and I really tuned in, and I came upon this name of a spiritual counselor called Heather Pozo. And I had a real sense that this was the right person, and I phoned Heather up, and immediately this wonderful person answered the phone. I knew I'd hit the jackpot, and it was a wonderful conversation, and I eventually went up and I met her face to face, which was a fabulous experience as well. She's very unique because, she's a very young woman, and I'll let her disclose if she wants to her age, but she's been studying the Course for 20 years from her late teens, and that's an incredible achievement, for anybody to get into this work, because those of you who are Course students and followers of the Course will know that it's not the easiest of spiritual materials, and it's quite challenging in its language and its discipline. So that's for a teenager, young person, to get into that and start taking it seriously is an amazing thing, and it shows in her demeanor. And I have been absolutely amazed at the number of times I've spoken to Heather about something, and she'll just immediately kind of go, right, have you got your book there, page 436, chapter 2, and she just knows this work, beautifully, and I feel it's a great pleasure and a great honor to have her in my life, and it's with great pleasure that I introduce you to Heather this evening to come and share with us. So, Heather, welcome to BBS Radio tonight.
John, thank you.
Yeah.
That was great.
Well,
thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Excellent.
Yeah. And personally, I have to apologize. I know it's late for us over here, and especially after the kind of days you've had. But, what I normally do with my guests is I get them to tell us a little bit about their start in life and how they got onto a spiritual path and what their kind of upbringing was around their spiritual or lack of spiritual disciplines, and then go on to there, and then we can talk a bit more specifically. So I know you're from Canada, so tell us a little bit about your young life and what happened.
Thanks, John. I'm 35, by the way, and born just outside of Toronto, Ontario, in Canada. And I was quite fortunate because at the age of 5, I was already on a spiritual path via my father, who was a member of the Baha'i Faith, which is a religion that stems out of Iran in the 1800s, actually. So it's a fairly new religion. And from a very young age, I was exposed to the idea that there's only one God, one source of love, and equality between all of mankind. And so I was really blessed and very fortunate. I had a very rich upbringing around this concept that we're all one and we're all love. And that just kept me very open-minded as a youth. But barring that open-mindedness and that sense of love, when I was 16, I had a quasi-type nervous breakdown, which I now understand was just my ego screaming at me while I was, trying to uncover all my blocks and embrace love. And so I was hospitalized when I was 16, and the person who I now refer to as my spiritual mother, Judith Smith, came into my life and introduced me to a book called A Course in Miracles. And I just felt at home straight away. I understood, even at 17, that there was this idea of unconditional love. Although it wasn't an idea that I don't know that I directly understood in terms of experience, I believed in the theology of it. And that theology of unconditional love really carried me through my 20s, through going to university and having boyfriends and just going through the normal up and down peaks and valleys and mountains of life. And when I was 30, I had what I then next refer to as my midlife crisis. I feel blessed that I got that over with early. And that, again, was just another opportunity where life was right up in front of me, and I had to make some very hard decisions about the direction I wanted to take my life. Would I follow my ego and all the pressures that mainstream society was putting on me, or would I follow my heart and my intuition, which was saying, that I want to be of service to my divine powers? And that directed me to London, where I was already connected with Ian Patrick, who runs the Miracle Network here in London, which promotes A Course in Miracles. And I knew it was the right place to go because I'd have this spiritual family, this community to land into. And I was a nurse, which was a very transferable job. And so 4.5 years ago, I landed in London with really just a sense of complete openness and willingness to be of unconditional service to the universe, to whatever Spirit had ready for me. I was finally really willing to embrace. And so over the last 4.5 years, I've been here in London. I've been developing myself, healing my mind, and also working on helping to develop the Course in Miracles community and nursing at the same time. And in the meantime, I graduated as an interfaith minister and a spiritual counselor, which I'm very grateful to Miranda and the Interfaith Seminary based here in London. And all of a sudden, I have all these fantastic doors opening in front of me. I'm exhausted even talking about it. It's exciting. It's a very exciting time, and I'm thrilled to even be sharing it with you. So, yeah.
That's amazing. When you spoke about, with the Baha'i faith, because it really I started to think, I wonder if you could have been my grandfather in a past life, because it's very, very interesting. I think that my mother emigrated to Canada when she was 14 with her father. Her mother had died when she was only a little girl, and her father married again. And they settled in Fort William. And it's funny because the first time I ever heard of the Baha'i faith was from my late mother when after she got sober in the 60s, when I was a teenager, 14, and she started on this spiritual path, and she got involved in the Baha'i faith. Of course, I didn't know what it was or anything, but that's so interesting. That's what started you off. So what was that exactly? I mean, what is you say it's from Iran?
Well, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith is Baha'u'llah, and he was Iranian. In fact, he grew up in a very prominent Islamic family when he started to receive his prophetic messages that he was to bring about another way